Good morning. I'm just going to jump right in. I tried to squish those last 4 shorts, but some of them ran over the short time frame of 3 minutes. I was going to try to just paste them all together, and I don't know how to do that. So my voice is almost back completely 100%, minus the Parkinson's. I don't know what this page is going to be about yet, but I'm going to stick with Parkinson's for now for the people that did start following because of that. I did make an outline and trying to stick with this. So let's go to pre-diagnosis, all the symptoms that I have had for over a decade, and see if you compare to that, if you have anything like it. I have pretty much everything that's listed under non-motor and motor symptoms of Parkinson's. On my page, I do have my first visit to the MDS. It's just a short video of my first visit with her that where she's assessing me. You'll notice that my face is just blank, like I stare off into space in that video. I have the tremor on my left side and dystonia. I took my shoes off for that visit, and you'll see my small toes on my left foot curling under or kind of cramping back. It's not really a curl like the whole toe curls. It's just like that first joint that's attached to my foot just pulls back. I don't know how to describe it. So let me start in 2006 when my husband retired from the military from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and we moved to Texas. And soon after that, I developed a cough. I had already had a tick that I made a noise like between my throat and nose, like almost a sinus area. I had a tick. My dad had it. Everybody commented that besides our thumbs, that he knew I was his daughter. And we when we moved to Texas, that tick became a cough, and we didn't really take notice of it because the tick was already something that I did, and the cough wasn't much different, I guess. And that started right after. Anyhow, so that cough, when we did start to notice that it was a regular thing, my husband being military trained medically, was thinking that it was either allergies or it was what do you call that? Airway, reactive airway. Because when we were in the car and if the AC was blowing right on me, had I been the passenger seat while I'd been driving, the car, and then when he gets home, he's in the driver's seat and I'm in the passenger seat. So whoever was in the passenger seat last would direct the AC, because we're in Texas, straight at them. Well, I couldn't have that blowing right in my face. So I was always really frustrated when I'd get in the car and that started blowing in my face, and I'd be very dramatic when I would redirect it. So he thought it was reactive airway issues. When I did see a doctor about it, they thought allergies. They thought in the winter time, cedar fever, stuff like that. Well, they tested me, and unlike where I'm from, California, the Bay Area, where I had a ton of allergies, here I had hardly any reactions to all the tests that they gave me. So in the beginning, my husband, whereas before we just called it a tick, now it's a cough, and it was always on my exhale. I would cough twice. Sometimes harder, sometimes just clearing my throat, which I still do. But I did just get over pneumonia, so I'm clearing out my lungs at this point currently. But he nicknamed my cough our mating call. And he said that when he would tell people about it, because they would comment on my cough or whatever, he'd say, oh no, that's just our mating call, and get a laugh and everything. But he would tell people that we would be in Lowe's because we were building our house at that time. Well, soon after we moved here. We were first working on an old house. Now at that time, we were building a new house. So we were always at Lowe's. Lowe's or McCoy's Building Supply. And he would say if he lost track of me, he would just listen and listen for my cough. And he could find me anywhere I went. So, symptoms. Cough was the first thing. Not all doctors are on board, and it took me a lot of convincing of them to tell them that I figured out that it was the Parkinson's, but that was just a couple of years ago, right after my diagnosis. I'm like, this is Parkinson's. And my first MDS was like, no, it's not. She was very strict about things. She had her mind made up, let's put it that way. So I was tested for allergies. I was put on omeprazole for reflux a couple times. I saw 6 ENTs here in Texas. And this is just the whole span of when a cough started and till today. And I'll go back and revisit some of these. I had a surgery to remove a cyst near my epiglottis around 2017. Did not cure my cough again. None of this stuff cured my cough. I had 2 with the airway doctor and my last ENT. They did the laryngeal nerve blocks, which made my cough 10 times worse, made me miserable for 2 months until it wore off, because it's like a Botox kind of thing in your throat. So back to that airway doctor, I went to her right before my diagnosis of Parkinson's, and she did the scope up my nose, down my back of my throat, and videotaped both sides, because all the ENTs before her, including the ENT that sent me to her, said that the right side of my vocal cords was underactive and possibly paralyzed from damage of having a tube stuck down my throat for breathing during some major surgeries that I had prior. And she disagreed. She disagreed that it was paralyzed. She said that there was still movement, that it was just slower. And then when she looked at the other side, my more affected side, and she didn't know I had Parkinson's. We didn't have a clue I had Parkinson's yet. But she said this side was overactive. So my left side. When she did the laryngeal nerve block, she said, I'll see you in 2 months, follow up. So in that follow-up time, or while I was waiting for the follow-up, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I'll get back to that part too in a minute. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so when I went back for my follow-up, I told her when I was in the exam room and we were following up, and I was telling her that the laryngeal thing was, the nerve block was unsuccessful. I said, oh, by the way, I have Parkinson's. And she basically threw my chart up in the air and said, this is Parkinson's. What's going on in your vocal cords is Parkinson's, and what's going on, why you have this cough, I feel is due to Parkinson's. So that was the last time I saw her. Not because she did anything wrong, but she couldn't do anything further for me. So, let me see. After my DBS surgery, I went to a speech pathologist, and she diagnosed me with a slew of other things uh, having to do with the throat and speech and all that. And she sent me to my 6th and final ENT, who gave me another nerve block because I had forgotten by then what the other nerve block did to me. It had been 3-4 years, and he wanted to follow up with me, but because I was remembering all the other stuff, I said, nah, I don't need a follow up. It didn't work. Let's just move on. In the meantime, since my diagnosis, I've been telling everybody that when I started my dopamine replacement therapy, that my cough went away. When I went to my first doctor that left right after all my surgeries, she moved to Oklahoma, I have been telling everybody since her that my cough went away when my dopamine works. It disappears. I don't have a problem. So it was very frustrating because nobody was listening to me. They're saying this has nothing to do with Parkinson's. So I kept telling everybody that, including my interim doctor that I saw in between when my first doctor left after all my DBS surgery. She only was able to set the first side, this side, my right side, twice, and only once on the left side of my brain. And I needed a doctor in between because the doctor that I had chosen from her list of recommendations, actually, I don't think she was on that list, but that my Medtronic, my DBS device technician that was at both of my surgeries, said that he referred me to this doctor in San Antonio at UT Health that knows this system that is really good, and another female. And so I had made an appointment with her right after or right before my last surgery with my first doctor. I made that appointment, but it was 8 months out, and my other doctor said you need somebody in the middle just in case you need settings changed and medication, refills. So, excuse me. I went to this interim doctor, and at first he said something like, oh, I think your cough might have to do with dystonia. And then the next time I saw him, he retracted and wasn't listening to me anyhow. He wouldn't change my meds or anything. So during the time that I was waiting for that other doctor, my new doctor now, for that appointment, I stopped taking my dopamine except for my Rytary at night, which was really stupid. But I didn't like immediate release anymore. Even though they had backed me down off of the 10 pills I was taking before the surgeries, I was down to first 5 and then 4 and then 3. And all those times, even though I was still taking it, I was still having the side effects like I was taking 10. Every time I took it, my heart blood pressure would drop and I couldn't drive. I'd have to get rides. And it was getting pretty scary because I thought I was going to have to give up my license for like the 4th or 3rd time. And once you give it up, it's very hard to get it back, even though you have proof that it was a medication problem and not a you problem. So I'm now with this new doctor. I get to see her for the 4th time in 3 months to this next Monday. And I can't wait because my meds, although they are working, she put me on Crexont, the lowest dose of extended release dopamine. I'm still not pre-DBS as far as mood, motivation, and movement. So I might have to up it a little more. I was taking 3 a day, and then I talked to her through the portal and said I would like to try to up the middle of the day dose, the noon dose, to twice or two capsules. And she agreed because I'm not back to where I was pre-DBS. The interim doctor that I went to was not supportive. He was very young. He wasn't an MDS. He only liked playing with my DBS. He did not talk to me or hear me out when I was talking about my meds. So therefore, that's why I was retaliating, but only did myself harm, not really did anything to him. So cough. Cough was my main symptom that I found out that had to do with Parkinson's when I started dopamine, and my cough went away. When my dopamine's working, I don't cough. So I have, like I said, and I think I said it in this video, I have pretty much the full spectrum of all Parkinson's symptoms. When I look at the chart that is shared on my Life with Parkinson's group, that sometimes people share, and it has all the non-motor and motor symptoms listed. Before my diagnosis, I had all of them. My first MDS said that when she diagnosed me, that I had had Parkinson's for over 10 years. And in the time that she was treating me, the first 8 months from March to end of October of 2023, she had upped my dose from 3 a day to 10 a day in those months because my symptoms kept creeping back on, the lower dosages. And then that whole year of 2024, before I had my first DBS surgeries in December of 2024, that year before, I was tweaking my dose according to how I was feeling. Did I want to deal with my old symptoms, or did I want to deal with my new side effects? And I always chose my old symptoms because I knew them. Even though I was miserable, I didn't like the new side effects, the not being really able to drive with the low blood pressure drops during peak dose, and not being being like I was in Zumba class 24/7. My body is pretty overused. I worked like a man pretty much my whole life. I tore my body up, building houses, doing man work. My husband has an overseas job, which he's retiring from. This is his last trip, so he'll be home the end of this month, and he won't be going back overseas anyhow. He has a couple surgeries himself that he has to get out of the way, mandatory stuff that he needs to get done. So I'm really looking forward to that, for him being home. But when he was gone all these years, 27 years, this year we'll be married, I'm home alone, and I did the man work, the woman work, and the mom work, and the dad work. And so I really beat my body up. I have arthritis everywhere, proven with x-rays, and I feel it. So so that was my first symptom, which happened in and around 2007. Then came the pain. And I don't know I can't remember if I started moving differently back then, because I thought, I hurt myself moving a bale hay. I hurt myself doing CrossFit. I hurt myself moving furniture. I hurt my shoulder. In 2018, went and saw doctors. I waited until 2019 to see a doctor. And basically, when he got the x-rays back on my shoulder, it also included my neck. And he said, we're only 2 months difference in age, Miss Riggs, and your body looks like a 72-year-old man that's been jumping out of planes his whole life. And I said, well, thanks. That was at BAMC, Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. And so I went and got a second opinion because he wouldn't treat me, my shoulder. He wanted me to go to a neurologist for my neck at that time because he saw my neck. And I'm like, I don't want neck surgery. I just want you to fix my shoulder. I know I tore something in there and I just want to get it fixed. And he wouldn't do it. So I had to go get a second opinion, tell them. I didn't tell them. I just didn't mention anything about neck pain or tingling down my arm or anything. I said I hurt my shoulder, and he did an x-ray MRI of my shoulder and did surgery on it in the beginning of 2020. So the pain was a constant thing after the cough, but I was always still overworking my body at that time also. Constipation was right in there around the same time. That's a major symptom of the Parkinson's. And I had been seen back in the early 2010s I had been to the emergency room twice and not knowing that I was constipated because I'm constantly moving around here at our farm, our home. And back then I had a lot of other things on my plate. So when I went to the hospital and they didn't say it like this, but they said, you're full of shit. No pun intended. Go home and flush yourself out any way you can, because stool softeners weren't enough. That was my other symptom that happened early on. And then the more stiffness, my hands were getting harder to move. I couldn't write cursive anymore. It was more like a small, like I went to drafting school or something, print. And then the slowness and bradykinesia. I don't know how to pronounce that word. And then I was doing CrossFit in 2021, and I really injured my back not warming up one day. I got there late, and I didn't warm up, and I didn't have anybody really watching me. It was a busy CrossFit day. It was during one of their holiday challenges, like the Murph or something like that. And I hurt myself bad. I literally felt where I did it in my low back. And so I started going to physical therapy, a couple different ones. And then my last one, who I really loved a lot, he tried doing dry needling on my back and shoulders. And when he did it on the shoulder that they had done surgery on, I think I told you that. I don't remember. They were just cleaning up tears, arthritis, and bone spurs. When they did that surgery, when I went to the PT, and he did dry needling on this side of my body. He was doing it on both sides, but on this side of my body, it triggered something, and I couldn't sleep for 48 hours. So no more dry needling. I then switched to my chiropractor because my little session that I had purchased with the PT guy that wasn't covered under my insurance was over. So I went to my chiropractor, and he noticed my curling toes. And then because I hadn't had any PT on my shoulder, he was kind of working on my shoulder a little bit, because I saw him before the surgeries, and then I saw him a little bit after, not surgeries, the shoulder surgery. I saw him, and he was the one that told me to get the second opinion for my shoulder. And then I saw him a little bit after that for my neck and back, and he is the one that noticed my dystonia in my foot. And then a few months or a year and a half after my shoulder surgery, he's the first one that actually felt my tremor. I sleep with my husband when he's home, and he, probably if he wasn't on sleep aids, probably could have noticed my tremor also, but my chiropractor was the first one to notice my tremor on the left side. I had noticed it, but I was ignoring it because I thought it was just because I didn't have PT with my surgeon's physical therapist after my shoulder surgery, and I thought it was just weakness. So I didn't have any PT, and I thought, oh, it's just shaking because it's weak. But my chiropractor then told me I needed to go to a neurologist, and I did, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I can get into the rest of it. Basically, those are my symptoms. This is just about my symptoms that I had leading up to my diagnosis, and how the dopamine really helped everything except for the constipation. My hands didn't fully come back, but my writing got a little bit better, so I know the residual that was still left in my hands was the overuse arthritis stuff. When I got on the dopamine, that doctor told me that when she saw me for my follow-up in 6 weeks, that she had progressed me from 3 dopamine a day to 5 dopamine a day. That first 6 weeks, she said I was going to feel like a new woman, and she was right. I felt like I was 20. It was amazing. I was able to run. Even with that back injury, even with a weak shoulder, nothing hurt except for my hands. My constipation was still there. My dystonia was still there. But everything else was pretty much taken care of. I started reacting to things again. I started laughing and crying again. My husband used to tease me that when we watched funny shows that I was not laughing, and I said I was laughing on the inside, and he's like, but you're not like laughing, and we never knew why, and now we know why. I was laughing at him when he'd fall on the floor laughing so hard at some shows, but I wasn't laughing, outwardly. So right before my diagnosis, and for the 5 months after my diagnosis, before I started taking the dopamine, I had a couple falls here out on the farm. We have a lot of uneven ground here. But it wasn't really about the uneven ground. It was more about me turning too fast and losing my balance, or walking backwards and taking a step back, losing my balance. I do want to also let you know that my mom was diagnosed the month that I went to my first doctor, my first MDS doctor, to tell her that I was ready for the surgery. I took my mom with me to that appointment, and she diagnosed my mom with Parkinson's. And she had already met my mom prior, and she never said anything. But this time I told her, my mom, I coached her basically to be up on her feet when the doctor walked into the exam room. I wanted my mom to be on her feet so that she would, turn and say hi to her and then walk back to the chair next to me. And my doctor behind my mom's back said, she has Parkinson's. And I'm like, that's what I thought. And so she diagnosed her right then and there, took her on as a patient. And my mom's taking 3 carbidopa, levodopa a day, and she's doing awesome. She hasn't had it long. She only recently got it. The doctors think that we got it when we were younger, or we were exposed to pesticides and herbicides in California, in the Bay Area, where we both grew up. My mom's 18 years older than me, and I'm 59 in next month, by the way. So her diagnosis was kind of a blow, but my doctor that diagnosed her that day was very giddy about doing a genetics test immediately, like right then and there. And she did a swab test, and it came back negative for genetic Parkinson's. And now we're going to this new doctor and we're waiting for the results on an actual blood uh, specimen genetic test. I'll let you know when we get that in. My mom has to redo hers because she didn't have enough blood. They couldn't stick her. She's so little. They couldn't get enough blood from her, so they have to redo hers. I might get my results, but I kind of want to wait until she gets her results. So having basically, before all my diagnosis, all the injuries that I've had in my life, and having going to pain management and getting shots in my back and in my shoulder, and then surgery in my shoulder, and going to all the PT that I went to since I've been in Texas, pretty much 18 years, I think, if I did the math right. 18 years since we moved here in 2006. I was guessing, but I was very adamant, thinking I knew the answer to why I got Parkinson's is because I live out here in farmland in north of San Antonio, and every growing season, all the big farms around my little 11 acres, they hire this yellow crop duster to spray their crops to basically kill them so that they can harvest them. And we're right dab in the middle of that. And I wish I knew what he was spraying. The people that hired him or sell him the chemicals say that he's not spraying paraquat, but I'm like, well, do you really know if he is or isn't? Because there's a lot of sister companies to paraquat. And then, of course, all the other pesticides and herbicides are not any better. I'm sure that they do glyphosate and in the form of Roundup or whatever. Yeah, so there's that. I thought I got it from Texas because when my mom got diagnosed, she got diagnosed with having it for about 4 years, which is about 1 year less of when she's lived here, 5 years. So she's had it for 4 years, which means she got it right after she moved here. I've had it for 17 years now, I think. Looking back at my symptoms, 17 years puts me just a year after I moved here when my cough was that developed. So having said that, we both got it after we moved to Texas. Well, all the doctors say that could have triggered it. I don't know how that happens. I don't understand that, but they think we were exposed to stuff in California because we lived in the Bay Area. I had an aunt that lived in Central Valley. We drove through there a lot, Central Valley, to get to like Sacramento or up to Tahoe or down to LA area. I've been around that whole state, but back when we lived in the Bay Area, which makes sense, it wasn't so much pavement. It was orchards. Every other corner was an orchard or a vineyard, or up in the foothills, grass fields, baling for hay. Those kinds of things were in the Bay Area when I grew up there, when my mom grew up there. So, I mean, it does kind of make sense that that's probably where it began, but Texas is where it came out. So now I do not drink our tap water. I'm very paranoid. Not even the filtered water that comes out of my fridge. I buy reverse osmosis. I still plant things, but I'm regenerating my soil with mulch and compost that's organic. I don't have a lot growing right now because of all the surgeries and whatnot that I've been through the last year. I get electrolytes and minerals and stuff through Element, LMNT electrolyte I'm trying to clean up my diet from having the surgeries and having pneumonia. I really lost it on what I'm putting into my body because I didn't have anybody here really except my mom. I didn't want to burden her with taking care of me and cooking a lot because she doesn't cook a lot anymore, or prepare stuff. So yeah, that's all my symptoms that are my main, I guess, complaints with Parkinson's. So this is me, unfiltered, uncut. I'm just putting out these videos the best way I know how. I'm not a professional by any means, and I just want to talk about that for now, and maybe later on I'll put in farm stuff, my bees, my sheep, my birds, my gardening later on. But right now I just want to catch you up on who I am, what I have, and that I'm unfiltered. I will catch you up next time. I will, I don't know what I'll talk about. I guess maybe my DBS surgeries, or how I got to my DBS surgeries, and a little more clear. I'll try to, again, do a little outline so that I can stay on track. I know that I'm all over the place. I'm very critical of myself, and I'm not going to rewatch this video because it drives me nuts. I'm just going to post it. So 36, almost 37 minutes of me babbling. It stresses me out. I don't like reading other people's comments because that makes me very anxious, because I'm, like I said, I'm already critical of myself. I don't need other people being critical too. Constructive criticism is okay when delivered in a kind and loving manner. I'm okay with that. So I will close out now and hopefully do another video a little later once I write down a little bit of outline on the topic. I'm sure I'll probably just do something with what I did prior to deciding on the DBS surgery, how it was delivered to me, and then the DBS surgery. I'm sure that will take up a good hour or so. Hopefully I can shorten it for y'all. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all the wonderful comments that I got that give me the courage to do another video. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.